up. That way the various crops will be able to easily continue growing. Any undead that had spawned and had surface access will start, withering away. Now, from what I heard, this thing will output a redstone signal when, it definitely does output some form of redstone signal because it attached to the redstone dust right there. Therefore, in order to ensure that it doesn't get picked off by an enderman, I'm going to attach the lightning rod to that lantern, and then the lightning rod will send out a redstone signal which will update this observer, and then this observer will fire off all of the pistons every time that redstone dust gets an update. I'm actually able to, if I hurry, walk over to here. Yeah, you can see it has some kelp in there that it managed to harvest. It's a nice, clean, even harvest. And that will add on to the 10 that is already in the queue here. Yeah, looks like we got about 12 kelp that time. That's fine. We will take this 22 kelp that we now have all the way up to this overflow chest in order to deposit it into the overflow. You can see, there's a few extra kelp in these. Specifically, that's just because I wanted to make sure that the hoppers, if this thing started just absolutely growing like crazy, I wanted to make sure that the hoppers were not going to get overwhelmed. As for this one, I think what I'm going to end up doing is I might go with an underwater flying machine. An underwater flying machine. The reason why I want to go with an underwater flying machine is specifically because I want to be able to harvest this entire lake bed of kelp in one pass. The only way I can really do that, however, is a flying machine. Even if I'm down there myself, even with Respiration 3, I start taking suffocation damage because there's just so much going on. However, a flying machine would have no such problems. I will need to look into how to build a flying machine proper. However, from the present look of things, I don't think I need to actually worry about that anytime soon. That's not where I was clicking. Yeah, kelp be laggy. One thing I could do is I could speed up that by installing observers directly above the pistons here in the dirt block section. I could install observers there, and that would allow me to keep that same setup where I have the observers pointing into blocks, and then the blocks will step down one, meaning it'll be at this height on this row, where I will then have the redstone dust. It'll be just like this block, basically. And then I will have the redstone dust come down in front of these observers, and then that'll be that, you know. Matter of fact, I don't think that would actually work too well, because I'd have to basically adjust this entire build. I'd have to carve out this row right here in order to point an observer. Well, I guess I wouldn't have to carve out the row, but I would still have to point the observer down. I'd be able to reclaim these two observers. Those two observers would still get used. But the lightning rod would get moved to right there. When I get enough copper, I'd be able to install another one over on this side as well, right there. But it would definitely reduce the amount of lag that this thing could potentially generate. And additionally, things would harvest a lot more quickly. Things would harvest more rapidly because, for example, that kelp right there is almost tall enough to trigger where the observers would be in order for it to harvest at that height. As you can see, that kind of limits the growth potential of the kelp, because I don't think this works, but if I'm not mistaken, if I do this enough, it should just start spam growing kelp. Because if I'm not mistaken, some of this kelp is checking for block updates. Therefore, I suspect if I were to go, for example, harvest this one, and then if I were to place this here, it should start just rapid firing these pistons. Now, the way the kelp works, I'm decently sure, because of that stair at the end, I think this is causing a lot of lag, but I think it's also causing some of this kelp to grow. Okay. Just make sure that this one's functioning. And while I'm at it, I can even take out these drowns down here. No tridents between the two of them, however. It seems as though that one had been to the surface at some point. And this one just took a lot of damage from that shot. Oh, you sneaky little bugger. There we go. Oop! Made it in the water. Really? Where are you at? That wasn't a drown. That was clearly a zombie. Is there a zombie inside that mountain? I think there is. I don't see where that first drown's rotten flesh went. Therefore, I'm just going to assume that they each only dropped one. Oh, a skeleton died over here. Oh my. Oh no, that wasn't a skeleton, that was a salmon. A salmon died over here. That's kind of funny. Because, I mean, how does a salmon die over here, of all places? As far as this place goes, this does not seem to be very spawnable. Doesn't seem to be very dangerous in there. No idea why there's just a random clear-cut section just below water level, but there is. It's one wide. I have not yet looked up. Actually, I suppose I should. I have not yet looked up anything on the Chunkbase website, where you can basically look up any of the different things that are chunk-based related sections. For example, I have not looked up where the nearest stronghold is. I've not looked up, where the nearest witch hut is, where the nearest villages are. I haven't looked any of that up. I haven't looked up monster spawners, especially since the monster spawners apparently got moved around in the 1.17 updates. Therefore, if I restart this world, the monster spawner located down here might move. It might not be here in 1.17. I believe this was my spider spawner. Was this a spawner? Or was the spawner the other way? I think the spawner was up here. No, does not look like it. Where was that monster spawner? It was around here somewhere. Maybe it was the other way. Might have been the other way. Oh, my character is really hungry. Okay. Yeah, somewhere down here is a monster spawner, and that monster spawner is definitely going to prove very useful. There it is. That looks like... That looks almost like an Enderman in there, but I'm pretty sure that's a spider. Kind of want to remove the torch in order to check. Yeah, that looks almost like an Enderman. Is it trying to spawn an Enderman or a spider? Only one way to find out, I suppose. Let's make a dark spot. We shall see what shows up. Oh, skeletons. Okay. Yeah, that is a skeleton spawner. Okay. Well, that answers that question. So yeah, that's a skeleton spawner. I can definitely make use of that. That gets me all the bone meal that I could ever want. And that also will get me a lot of raw materials. Yeah. That's going to be very useful. Anything in here? Mostly just an empty chest. I'll just collect it. Okay. Iron. Actually, I can go ahead and use my fortune pickaxe on that one because I'm kind of heading in the direction of my my mine anyways, since I need to deposit a few things. Lovely lava. I am capable of removing a lot of the lava from around here because I am able to I'm able to go very thoroughly through a lot of lava via the method of a furnace. I can use lava in a furnace. Let me use the fortune one. I do not yet have mending. I probably should look into getting mending. Probably want to get mending on a fortune pickaxe as well as a silk touch pickaxe. The fortune pickaxe is specifically so that I am able to freely explore while mining. The silk touch pickaxe is specifically in order to allow me to basically get as much of all of the different ores as I actually want. Working together, they work very well in tandem with each other. Yeah. And now the many multiples of jumps that leads back to the surface. Okay. I think I'm going to have to basically manually force YouTube in to basically just accept whatever initial quality it manages to get. I'm going to need to force the uploads to complete manually. This will be done by forcing the files to basically 404. Okay, he has pointed dripstone, kelp, cactus, vines, moss blocks, and gunpowder. Whilst that is all very good and nice, I already have plans on how to get plenty of gunpowder. There is a witch hut that is somewhere in the swamps on the way to the village. Therefore, I don't need to worry about gunpowder, glowstone, redstone, various other things. I'll be able to get it from the witches. I just have to set up some form of kill chamber for them. Moss blocks, I have massive quantities of moss blocks. It's a net positive block. Therefore, you get 2 and you're pretty much set. Same for the vines. They grow slowly, but you can farm them. Cactus, same way. Kelp, same way. Pointed dripstone, kind of the same way. Therefore, I'll leave them alive just to prevent more wandering traders from spawning in. I'll leave them alive. However, that wandering trader is not exactly very relevant. Just how it is. One thing that might help me with all of this lag from the kelp is if I turn off fancy graphics. But then you won't be able to see when I do something stupid, such as accidentally break a crop using my sword. Where did I break that? I heard it break. Did I not break anything? Okay, well, I guess I didn't break anything. Oh, nope, there it is. I broke the kelp. Found it. Found it and repaired it. There we go. Now I am able to drop off the excess items at the various locations. I want your cooked pork chops, because I'm going to need food soon. Pretty soon I'm going to be switching into pork chops. Okay. Let me deposit the leads. Let me deposit the bones. Double tap the bones. I'm just going to go through, make sure there's nothing that needs depositing amongst any of this stuff. Nope, looks good. Okay. Let me go over here to this in order to throw away the items which I do not need. I already have iron horse armor that I can't use, therefore I don't need another iron horse armor. As you can see, most of the tilled soil has gone ahead and reverted. That was actually the last one. I went ahead and trampled it just to speed it up. But yeah, we now have a very well organized hay growing section, as well as a decently well organized section for growing lots of other things. Let's see. Oh, crafting. I should go ahead and craft blocks of coal in order to prepare for... Well, actually, I guess I need to uncraft the blocks of coal, because I need to craft all of that coal into these lanterns, in addition to carving up more lanterns, which I should do right now. I should go ahead and carve the lanterns, that way I can put the shears away. I think I shall go for a fortall between the lanterns, not touching a chunk border, if I can help it. I mean, I'm probably going to cross a chunk border just because of the sheer quantity of pumpkins that I'm processing. But I'm not going to start on a chunk border. I will instead progress my way to the chunk border. And the chunk border will simply be involved. Yeah, see, there's the chunk border right there. I'm just going to go ahead and lay out all of these in order to process them all simultaneously, all at once. Now I grab the shears, which have been enchanted with Silk Touch and Unbreaking 3. The shears are very nice. I would not have minded having efficiency applied to the shears, as that would mean that they would be able to do things faster. However, I do not mind the fact that I can only process so much at once, as that is kind of, how shears work in the first place. Carving pumpkins takes a while in real life. Carving pumpkins takes a while in game. It's much shorter in game than it is in real life. If you've ever carved a pumpkin, you would be well aware of that. I am trying to hurry up with all of these pumpkins in order to prepare the seeds for composting, because I want to compost the excess quantities of seeds. Okay, I've got my stone axe here, which is still decently cheap to repair. Therefore, I will be making use of this stone axe for quite a while. Quite the long period of time, as it were. For the most part, I just need to go through and harvest all of these pumpkins. The shears makes the pumpkins into carved pumpkins. Then I place a torch below a carved pumpkin using a crafting grid of some sort, minimum of 2x2. However, the 3x3 also works. It is what's known as a shapeless shaped crafting recipe. It is a shaped recipe, however, it is only shaped in the fact that it requires a pumpkin over a torch. It does not require the pumpkin to be in any specific slot, so long as that slot is above a slot which contains a torch. It makes for describing how to craft it a little confusing, because, you're sitting there telling people that they need to put the pumpkin above the torch after they've carved the pumpkin, of course. Not before. Before it doesn't work. It has to be a carved pumpkin, and that will allow for the pumpkin to get crafted up into a that'll allow for the pumpkin to get carved up into a carved pumpkin, which can then be converted into a jack-o'-lantern. Lovely. Made 3 stacks of carved pumpkin lanterns. Now I just gotta go through carving them all up. Or, well, placing them together, technically. Here, let me just do it this way. A little bit faster. Now I've got another section. Let me go ahead and place that there. There we go. Now I can gather more materials there. That allows me to just craft right through all of this material. I have really been enjoying this feature of the 1.17 update, where I have been able to rapidly craft vast quantities of items through the press and hold method. Actually, I can bring these with because I can craft more pumpkins down below. I should, however, go over here in order to put these pumpkin seeds away in the composter, which will then produce more bone meal. I do not yet have a fully automatic bone meal farm for the moss blocks. The skeleton farm will still be preferable to a moss farm as far as bone meal is concerned, seeing as moss has more uses than bone meal does. Bone meal is somewhat limited by the fact that if you if you have if you have a moss farm, that's great, but the moss farm will not allow you to, for example, get a better bow. In order to get a better bow, you would need to make use of something that drops a bow as a part of your farm. Let's go ahead and put those there. I do not really have a spot to store all of this gravel that I brought down. As you can see, my gravel storage is quite full. Suppose I'll just store it in here with this item selection, at least for the time being. Where was andesite? There it is. Now to deposit this cobble which I brought. Next up, I want to deposit the iron into the blast furnace. Looks like the blast furnace was empty. I want to deposit the leather, as well as the storage chests. Also deposit the barrels in the composter. I will withdraw the blocks of coal because I need to lay those out in order for me to mine them all up. I will actually silk touch that one and move it over there one more. Let me go ahead and take out that slime so that he doesn't bother me while I'm doing this. Now I just need to plop down all of these storage, or sorry, not storage, these ores. Technically it is a form of storage, as until I fortune pick them, they are storing the coal of an unknown quantity inside of them. Speaking of fortune, I have my Fortune 3 pickaxe armed and ready to go, allowing me to very quickly go through and collect all of this coal, which I will then immediately turn around and craft into torches as soon as I collect the excess amounts from my storage chest. Make sure I didn't leave any behind. Make sure there's nothing in the storage barrels. Okay. Speaking of which, how much? I still need to craft more of those. Okay. I need to craft a bunch of these into blocks of coal because my fuel is running low on these ferni over here. I suppose that'll work. There we go. 9 for you, 9 for you. Now I'll just throw down like 9 stacks of stone, pick them all up, start throwing them into these hoppers up here. As well as the barrel. Throw that one there, that one there. Pick up that. Pick up that. Okay. I still don't have any lapis, therefore it's kind of a moot point for me to try my hand at enchanting, because I don't really have anything to enchant. Well, I mean, I have things to enchant, but I don't have any lapis to enchant it with, as you can see. I did need another dyed tunic here. I will not be able to enchant it this time around, sadly, because I've run out of lapis. By that same standard, I should actually deposit these lanterns. I'll deposit them there. Speaking of the lanterns, I additionally want to start carving out the floor above here in order to start making room for those storage areas that I mentioned, where I was going to have a gravel storage as well as a storage for just regular stone. That way, as I continue to excavate all of this, it will very quickly be easily stored away in bulk, where I am going to be able to rapidly retrieve any of the materials. Okay. Now, I just need to go over to this side and do roughly the same thing. However, I'm pretty sure I did not have all of the lanterns in place. I did not. Okay, well, that was a painful lesson. I mean, it wasn't that painful, but it was a little painful. I got the cooked mutton in me. That'll help. However, the primary thing that's going to help here is installing all of these lights. Just installing the lights is going to help a lot. And on top of that, all of this jumping from jumping up onto these lanterns is going to generate a lot of hunger for me. Okay. I accidentally placed that lantern wrong, but that's fine. This is a good time to mention that if you enjoy my content, it helps my channel a lot to leave a like on the video, helps to remember to subscribe if you are not already subscribed. I know that roughly 3% of the people who view my videos are subscribed. I would enjoy having that number getting closer to 100%. However, I'm not entirely sure how viable that is, because I've not really seen very many channels actually getting 100% on their subscribers, or even 90%. I believe even Kibitz from I'm Kibitz was struggling to get past 60% of people subscribed, which is astounding. I mean, I'm subscribed to him. I enjoy his work. You know, he builds good bases. You know, I enjoy watching him build his base on Satisfactory. He seems pretty good at it. Oh, right. I want to actually go over to this side for this one, because otherwise it's not as easy to climb up. There we go. Now I put that there, put that there, put that there, put that there. It's a very simple pattern because it's just going back and forth. Why is this one here? This one's not lined up properly. There we go. Now we've got just a wee bit. Oh. Okay. Let me sneak, walk backwards a little. Now, the lantern is facing the lava. Now, fortunately, lanterns are not flammable. Therefore, I don't need to worry about the lantern, for example, possibly, catching fire and disappearing. I don't need to worry about that because the lanterns are not flammable. However, what I do need to worry about is monsters spawning in any of these many areas where I am unable to root them all out, or where I have not lit up anything. Either option is not exactly favorable for me. Hi. That's something worth noting. A medium slime is technically 2 blocks wide, or at least larger than 1 block. Therefore, if you're going to set up a safe area, then you want to make sure that your safe area has a large enough space for you to fit, but not a large enough space for the enemy to fit. Oh, you're a fresh spawn. Okay. I managed to avoid a slime, a medium slime, that had spawned behind me. How fun. Okay, let me start filling in some of these, because I know that they are preventing monster spawns on multiple floors when they are installed. As above, so below, as they say. That basically just means that the area up above is looking a lot like the area down below, in case you were confused by the phrase. Yeah, I have gone through a lot of lanterns here. But it's worth it. It is very much worth it. Okay, well, he managed to avoid damage from the thorns. Now I get to wipe out all of these various multiples of slimes. Okay. when I do that, I'm just spam clicking. I'm not aiming too much. I am aiming, but not much. You don't need to aim much for these guys because, for the most part, they are not all that dangerous. On top of that, it's a good source of experience. Can I get these? There we go. Yeah, as you can see, I'm getting a lot of usage out of these lanterns. I additionally need to fill in the ceiling after I am done with the floor. I just wanted to fill in the floor first because the floor is the most problematic. The floor is where it checks for if it wants to spawn a spider, if it wants to spawn a skeleton. It checks the floor. Therefore, I wanted to fill in the floor first, not second. Because the floor is sometimes important. However, there are other times when the ceiling is more important. The roof. I know in mathematics, I usually want to round up instead of rounding down. Therefore, if I'm going to look up something, I obviously want to look up something accurate. Oops, that's in the wrong spot. Let me fix that. There we go. Yeah, if I'm going to look up something, I want to look up something that's going to provide accurate information. I don't want to look up things that aren't right. Wait. These are too far back. There we go. Got those fixed. Did I misplace any of these other ones? Let me find out. Does not look like it. Looks like they're all placed properly. Evenly spaced. Well, technically oddly spaced, because there's 3 spaces in between each of the lanterns. Meaning the evenly spaced lanterns are 4 apart from each other in total. Yeah. Anyways, YouTube has been very stubborn in processing the uploaded videos. I do not know what's going wrong with the video processing. I do not know what's breaking with the video processing. All I know is YouTube is not behaving itself. It's not me. Like, I'm doing fine. The problem seems to be on YouTube's end. Specifically, their video processing software seems to be acting up or something. I don't know. I've been seeing all kinds of weirdness from YouTube lately. It's just a lot. You know, it's a lot to handle, it's a lot to process. It's just been a bit of an ordeal. Now I'm going through and making sure all of these other lantern lines are filled in along the ceiling, because I wasn't actually looking at them as I continued placing in the lanterns over here. Instead, I was looking over here, at these lanterns to see where I needed to place them. It seems that all of these are placed in they are placed in right. They're placed in properly. They're all right. Let's see, there is a lot of material to go over here. There's not a lot of material to talk about, as I'm not sure if you've realized, but I've spent the majority of this season actually talking, and I'm on roughly episode 200, meaning I've spent more than like 150 hours just talking to you people about all kinds of different things. I plan to make a villager farm soon. I plan to make a skeleton farm soon. I plan to make a spider farm soon. All of these things are going to help me grow my base. All of these things are going to help me expand all of my resources properly. I won't need to worry about if I'm going to run out of materials. I won't need to worry about if I'm going to need to go out mining diamonds again. That's what the purpose of these various farms are for. However, in order to get everything online, I need to first go about gathering a lot of materials, because I need to have the materials available to me as I continue to gather, for example, all of the resources required to as I continue to gather all of the resources required for me to grow my base, I need to have enough resources to build a way to transport all of the villagers from the village to my base. That requires some form of pathway. I am thinking of possibly building that network underground, possibly even as a railroad, just for chuckles, as a little underground railroad reference. It's an option. I need to carve out this staircase. Hi, slime. Bye, slime. Specifically, the lanterns that I did craft were originally intended to be used as the lanterns for this floor, or no, actually for that floor. Maybe this floor. Either way, they were not originally intended for the roof here. They were intended for the floor. But I am using them in the roof here because I want to A, get this slime off of me, B, aha, okay, you're going to wait your turn. There we go. Now while you're burning to death, I'm going to finish off this chicken. I do not seem to have any other food on me, therefore I will just go ahead with murderizing these medium slimes and then finishing off these little slimes. You do not need to aim very much with the little slimes because the little slimes do 0 damage. They cannot hurt you. They are similar to a zombie suffering from a weakness splash potion of infinite duration. Which basically means they can't hurt you, no matter what they do. They can try, but they're like a little tiny mouse in Australia. They want to kill you, don't get me wrong. They just can't. Speaking of which, on a related note, I need to visit the Nether. And if you don't get how the Nether is related to Australia, you haven't been paying attention to how Australia is. Everything in Australia wants to kill you. Don't get me wrong, he can't. He wants to, he just can't. You know? Welcome to Australia. And similarly, everything in the Nether wants to kill you as well. Therefore, you know, welcome to the Nether. Everything wants to kill you. It's very similar to Australia. If you're from Australia, you should be very comfortable. Or at least very used to everything trying to kill you. Yeah, you can see the difference between getting 2 experience and 2 levels. Because these guys are giving me like 1 to 2 experience per kill. I think somebody accidentally made it 1 to 2 levels per like every 2 or 3 items in the smokers and blast furnace and furnace. The furnace seems to be worth the most experience, which sounds about right, because the furnace is supposed to be worth more experience than the smoker or the blast furnace. However, the blast furnace and the smoker work faster than the furnace. Therefore, if your bottleneck is specifically the processing of resources, then you want a smoker or a blast furnace if you can get away with it. In some instances you won't be able to because it isn't actually the bottleneck. In those instances, that's the type of situation